Lots of you have been asking for my opinions on the new Zombies map, Toten, and today I want to share everything I like and dislike about the map and discuss if it was worth the wait. A lot of you guys know my opinions on Cold War Zombies, where it started off really slow and there just wasn't a whole lot of interest for me, but this map kind of changes it and makes me interested in zombies again. First, I want to talk about the things that I really enjoy about the map. For the first time in Cold War, this map plays so well and it has such good fluidity and flow to the map that it feels like out of every map in Cold War, this is the closest to some of the best COD maps from Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 that we've seen. I also really enjoy the Easter egg. When I think about the D Machine and Firebase Z Easter eggs, they're Easter eggs that just I think of doing once and never doing again. But for the first time in Cold War, and for the first time since halfway through Black Ops 4, I find the Easter eggs worth doing multiple times, at least within Toten. I've only done the Easter egg once, and that was to build my complete and full guide, but this Easter egg was so fun to do and so straightforward, and it matched the gameplay flow so well. So like when you're doing to do the Easter egg steps, you do the other things around the map anyway. It's very similar to Go Rod Crovey, where you will eventually complete the Easter egg just by getting yourself set up and playing the map itself, which is perfect. In D Machine and Firebase Z, you tend to stray away from the gameplay loop quite a bit in order to do the Easter egg, which is fine, but some of the most enjoyable Easter eggs to do are the Easter eggs that you can do while just playing the map in the first place, and Toten is one of those maps that you can achieve that on. Now, the Easter egg isn't all perfect to me. It's a fun Easter egg and it fits very well with how the map plays. However, I wish there was some more intricate and interesting steps. Not so much fetch quests, but maybe like a puzzle or two to solve, or maybe some more difficult and challenging steps. Now, some people find the uranium cleansing challenging, but if you're playing with well-experienced players, or you're a well-experienced player yourself in zombies, the uranium step is going to be super easy. But I respect it. I respect the Easter egg. It's like they're slowly becoming more difficult, and I completely understand that Cold War is going for a easier Easter egg type style where they're focusing more on the gameplay than the Easter eggs, but I enjoy that the Easter eggs are becoming more harder and more difficult and more challenging. I still think Firebase Z's Easter egg was really boring, and D Machines was also just meh, but this one is definitely the best by far Easter egg wise. If I was to rank them from best to worst, Toten is first, D Machine is second, and Firebase Z is last so far. And then I guess if you're including Outbreak 2, Outbreak would be behind Firebase Z, but that's just my personal preference. I also love the map's verticality. I love being on the rooftops and then being able to go underground to the sewers and the train station. It feels very Die Rise like, and if you have tier 5 stamina up, you can jump off the buildings without taking damage in the first place. So it kind of fixes the issue that Die Rise had with a lot of people taking too much damage and then having stupid downs and deaths because of fall damage. In this map, there's that verticality with the zip lines, and you can jump off the buildings where there's space to jump off and not die, which is absolutely amazing, and I love that part of the game. I also like the zip lines and how you can interact with the map. It can make gameplay very creative, and it creates a bunch of good high round camping strategies. If you want, right by the Wonder Fizz room, there are 2 zip lines that you can zip line up to it, or I guess you can only zip line up one, but you can zip line down both of them. But you can camp there and survive and have fun and make it feel like it's the Deriz catwalk. And this map also has tons of good training locations. My favorite is actually the power room. If you leave the room to the switch, or like the door to the switch room closed, the power room is probably the best high round spot on the map at this current time. But overall, the map offers so much variety to gameplay. All maps in Cold War have been good with that. There's tons of camping and training areas, but this map does it better just because of the size of the map. A lot of people are saying this is like Kino and Origins mixed. I don't remember what the World War II map was. I think it was like DLC 2 for World War II. I don't remember the map name. It was my favorite map on the game, and you did the boss fight in the blimp. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it really reminds me of that map, but just a little bit bigger. Actually, I guess like twice the size of that map, and that's what this map makes me think of. But I love the sheer amount of variety of playstyles that you can play in the game. And the best part is there's not only like 1 or 2 good training spots, there's good training spots absolutely everywhere on the map. And at the same time, you can get really creative with camping, and it offers tons of different areas. I also like the new addition of Mule Kick, love the perk, love the tier 5 upgrades that you can have on it. And yeah, there's nothing bad to say perk wise or even weapon wise. And I also don't know if this is a thing that was changed in the game in general, but as you progress through the higher rounds, the rarities of the wall weapons change, and they will go from the common to rare to ultra to epic rarity, where they will go in the order of the green, blue, purple, orange on the wall buys. So the higher round you are, the higher level the wall buys will be with their their base damage output. I don't know if this has always been a thing. I haven't noticed it ever on D Machine or Firebase Z. So to my knowledge, this is the first map that has done that. It could be an overall game change that they've changed within the Season 4 Reloaded update, but it's a very welcome change and is something that is just almost a no-brainer to being in the game. I also love the side Easter eggs and the upgrade quests. The wonder weapons, spectacular. I really enjoy it. For high rounds, it's okay. I'm paused on round 60 plus right now, and I'm doing my first ever round 100 on this map. But the wonder weapon's pretty underwhelming. It's really good up until round like 45, and then it kind of drops off. I wish there was a version of the wonder weapon, whether that be like the diffuser or the shatter blast. It's not the shatter blast one, but it's like the launcher one. I wish some of the upgrades did more damage than the base variant on higher rounds. So if you're on higher rounds, really all the other upgrade variants suck, except for the literal base one that just shoots the lasers with the little ball that flies around. But other than that, other than the damage drop off, it's a great wonder weapon. And I know this was already a change before Mauer to Toten came out, but I really enjoy that you can get DLC weapons from the box now. I really wish this game launched with Mauer to Toten as the launch map instead of D Machine or Firebase Z. I feel like this was the perfect map to launch with, and Cold War Zombies, for me and my personal preference, would have been off on a way better starting foot than D Machine. Now, D Machine and Firebase Z have their moments of enjoyability for me, but not compared to Mauer. Mauer is just so much better than any zombies map in the game right now, even over Outbreak. Now let's talk about some of my dislikes. I love the map and how it plays, and I love the flow of the map. I don't like the layout though. I love the different versions of camping and training you can do in different parts of the map, but I just don't like the layout. Usually for me, I can understand the map's layout of a zombies map extremely fast, and I get used to it extremely fast. I probably have about 6 to 12 hours of in-game playtime on Mauer, and there's still moments where in the sewers and while taking zip lines, I'll get lost and confused. And this didn't even happen for me on Die Rise when it came out back in Black Ops 2 for DLC 1. I never had that issue even with that map, and that map's pretty much like a maze. But Mauer to Toten's Latin layout, it feels like they just tried to add as much space as possible and as much different rooms and areas as possible just to make the map bigger, where the map layout kind of lacks. Sometimes the zip lines can get confusing, especially going from the Corber roof to the apartment roofs and to spawn roof. And I just wish there was easier accessibility to those buildings, and sometimes it feels like you're going for a mile jog just to get from just to go across the street. And the layouts, it feels like they got lazy with the layouts, and instead of trying to find a layout that flows, they ended up with this. Now on the ground floor between West and East Berlin, like the street level's perfect, like there's no issue whatsoever. It's when you go to the rooftops for me that the map layout kind of starts falling apart in, I guess, almost not thought process, but just how well a map flows. In the sewers, it's the same thing, very close to the safe house, but I do like where the secret lab is and the secret lab entrance. I don't remember what that room's called, but the ghost station to the entrances to the street and like the staircases up to the street and the secret lab area and the power room, that all flows very well and very nicely. For some reason, I just get bothered when I go to the secret lab. It feels very Nuketown bunkery from Alpha Omega, where the Nuketown Alpha Omega bunker was just like cluttered for the sake of clutter, and that's what that area of the map feels like for me. So if I was to compare this map layout to every other map in Zombies, it's below average for my personal taste. However, I know the more I play it, the more I will understand the map, and the easier it will be for me to navigate, and I'll just memorize how to get to places. Like, I'll go from point A to point B extremely fast, but even then, layout not my favorite. One thing that is just an issue for me, and I know not a lot of people share this issue, and it's the amount of variety of bosses in the map. We have the Panzers, we have the Manglers, and we have the Disciples. And so, like, during Easter egg steps, you have the Tempests, so I don't count those in because they don't spawn normally. And then you also have, I don't know what they're called, but they're the new popcorn dog enemies of the map, where when you get the special dog-ish round where Valentina sends these weird like shard creatures after you, those are fine, but I don't like the combination of the Panzers, Manglers, and the Disciples. When I think of good boss combinations in a map, I think of Gorod Krovi, where you have the original Mangler mixed with the Valkyrie drones, and that's all you need. And that makes that map extremely enjoyable. I miss Zombies, how you had map specific bosses. Like the Panzer is specific to Origins and to Ryzen. Of course, Revelations is a little bit different, but in the sense of Revelations having a variety of boss zombies, it makes sense because it's like the merging of the multiverse of Treyarch's Ether story. But within Cold War, it just feels like they're adding bosses just for the sake of adding bosses. They're not really themed with the map, they're more themed with the game mode in general. I really wish in this map, the bosses that we got was the Panzer on Panzer rounds and then the Disciples on every single round mixed with the Tormentors. If you had that in this map, that would be perfect. I think just adding the Manglers makes the bosses just a little bit too congested, and it just feels like they're adding bosses just to add difficulty to the game. Outbreak makes sense for having the combination of bosses because in Outbreak you have, like, it's just like an entire Outbreak. It suits the mode better than in Mauer Toten. And even with like, and you look at Firebase Z, you have the Mimics and the Manglers. Makes perfect sense. Those are the only boss zombies in that map. Works perfectly. In D Machine, you have the Megatons and the Hellhounds, or I guess the Plague Hounds, and then you have the Hellhounds in Firebase Z. But those make sense. For me, it's something about copying, pasting the enemies from Outbreak, like the Manglers and the Soldats, into Mauer Toten, and it makes the map a little bit less thematic. And I wish the theme was more unique, very similar to Firebase Z. Like Firebase Z isn't a good map in my opinion, but it has a good theme and base and atmosphere to it. The bosses make sense, and the map's layout makes sense for what the map was trying to be. For Mauer Toten, it feels very similar to Outbreak, where they're just like, okay, we'll do a map layout, and instead of adding unique things that are just in this map, we'll copy and paste things from Outbreak and put them into here. And it makes sense because Outbreak's a main part of Zombies in the zombie storyline this year. I just wish for a survival round-based map they had it a little bit more themed, very similar to Gorod Krovi having the Valkyries and the Manglers on that map, very similar to Zetsubo no Shima having the Thrashers and having those map-specific bosses. And I know I love the Disciples. The Disciples are perfect for the map. I'm thinking ahead, and I already know the Disciples are going to be used elsewhere in the future of Cold War zombies if we ever do see more Outbreak Easter eggs or more Outbreak maps or another survival round-based map. I feel like we will see the Disciples return again, and it just takes away from the theme of the map. I just wish there was more uniqueness to the map. That's really what I want. The map feels like a combination of Die Rise, Origins, and Shaolin Shuffle, and then that World War II DLC 2 map that I can't remember this. Oh, the Shadowed Throne. I don't know why I couldn't remember that till now, the Shadowed Throne. It feels like all those maps combined together, and it doesn't have that unique feel. D Machine had a unique feel down below ground. Of course, Nocturne Toten and the Noct building felt like Noct, but the surrounding area and the lab felt unique. Firebase Z felt unique, even though it was a reused campaign map. And I know this map is also a reused campaign map, but it's a very bland campaign map and a very boring location for a zombies map, especially when we're used to going to places like Shangri-La and Moon, and even some custom maps like Leviathan, which is an unfair perspective to compare just because they're custom maps. but I just wish there was something more unique and more interesting about this map. Overall, not a bad map though. I really enjoy it, really have fun. It's the first zombies map in Cold War that I've played just to have fun. Usually on D Machine and Firebase Z, I played those to do the Easter eggs the original time, and I played them to unlock Dark Ether on my weapons. But for Mauer is the only zombies map in Cold War so far that I've played just to play because it's fun. Overall, I'd rate this map a 7 out of 10. It's actually really good. If it was more unique and had a strict variety of bosses like the Disciples and the Panzers only, perfect map. And if the map layout was just polished a little bit more, this map would be like an 8, 9 out of 10 for me. Anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions on Mauer to Toten. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you guys like the map? Do you guys dislike the map? What do you agree or disagree with me on? Leave a like if you guys did enjoy, dislike if you didn't, subscribe for more videos in the future. I'm about to head out, and if there is one, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.